Hey everyone, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Phil, and Phil writes, "Hi Amy, I love your videos. Thank you for creating them. You're welcome. I have a question. I know we can't control our thinking, nor should we try. Thinking just comes and goes. But can we influence our thinking? For example, I was leaving the gym this morning, and I noticed I was in a much better mood than when I arrived. If I'm feeling better, my thinking must have shifted. And it sure seems like the workout is involved somehow. I know the workout didn't make me feel better, but did exercise impact my thinking in some positive way? What are your thoughts about that?" So thanks for this question, Phil. I'm sure lots of people out there are saying, thank God he asked that, because I have the exact same question, right? Like, you know, we start to hear that thinking comes and goes, and as for most of us, as we start to hear something about that, we notice it. We were blind to it before. It's always been happening, but maybe we were kind of blind to it before. It really looked like, no, I have to do this thing and then I'll feel better, or I have to make my thinking change or try to make my feelings change. We're in that. That's what we're seeing and believing, so that's what we experience. But then many of us that have been hanging around this for a little bit start to hear, no, actually, thought just kind of comes and goes. It isn't about us. It isn't about what we're doing out in the world. A thought can show up at any time. It can leave at any time. So we're not making it happen, like you say, Phil. We're not controlling it. We don't have to control it. We can't control it if we want to, so why would we try? It just does its own thing. And we start to see more and more about that. But often how that goes then is that we kind of see more about that, which is great, but then we still sort of have one foot in the other side. You know, like, yeah, but how it looked for my whole life until I caught on to this was that stuff out there created my thinking. So maybe it just influences my thinking. You know, maybe it doesn't create my thinking, but it just influences my thinking, or wherever our mind goes. You know, we tend to be in this place sometimes early on in this, or late on, I don't know, but at some point where we're kind of one foot in, one foot out. Like, we sort of see that this experience is just generated from within us, doing its own thing, and we're the ones over here just living life, and our mind is over here creating all this stuff, right? But then we still have that tendency, which is totally normal, totally okay, to want to figure out, well, but why? And what's it tied to? And why does my mind do more here than there? And, you know, we bring in the outside world to some extent. So, Phil, it's a really common, really great, really interesting question. But here's where my mind goes when I read this. You say, you say first, I know we can't control our thinking, doesn't even make sense to try. Thinking just comes and goes. Right on. Absolutely. And you say, I was leaving the gym this morning and noticed I was in a much better mood than when I arrived. If I'm feeling better, my thinking must have shifted. Absolutely. You're right on with that. Your thinking shifted. Our thinking's always shifting, and therefore our feelings are always shifting. So you're absolutely right. At some point from here to there, your thinking shifted and you feel different. And then you say, and it sure seems like the workout is involved somehow. And that loses me. Like, why? Just because you worked out? Like, you also probably opened a glass door, pushed open a door, or walked through a revolving door. But we don't say the door shifted my thinking and feeling. You maybe also walked somewhere or drove to the gym in a car. But you don't say my steering wheel or putting on my tennis shoes shifted my thinking. Maybe you ate some breakfast, drank some water, but you're not saying, sure seems like that water influenced my thinking. So this might sound crazy, but again, I point this out really to kind of show us where we have this thinking that we don't even see as thinking. Now, for a very long time, there's all kinds of theories out there, all kinds of people saying, oh, do this and your thinking will shift. Do that and you'll feel better. Do this and you'll feel better. One of those kind of theories, in a sense, a belief that I think you have is that, oh, seems like exercise has something to do with that. So you walk away, all that happened is your thinking shifted. But you tell us right in the beginning of your question, well, I see that happens all the time anyway. You see what I mean? So but then you come in and say, oh, that must have done it. Or it must have, maybe it didn't do it, because again, you've seen something about this, but oh, that must have influenced it. Why? There are a million things that could have influenced it, or maybe nothing influenced it. I have no idea. I don't know what workouts do for you or for anyone. But my point is, like, when we have a belief that the outside world does something to us, creates a thought or feeling for us, that's going to keep showing up. And that's all I'm hearing here. There are 100,000 things you did between this mood and that one, or 100,000 things you saw or smelled or tasted or that happened in front of you. But your mind wants to pick out the one that looks logical and give that the credit for the influence. And that's what minds do, right? Minds really love to be in control. They really love to like pull the shots and think that they have it all figured out. So they're going to point to something like exercise, which again, probably ask anybody on the street and people are going to say, yeah, exercise, that influences your thinking for sure. It definitely makes you feel different or feel better. So, you know, ding, 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 your mind's like, yes, I got one. I think this is right. But I really want you to get this sense of like, no, how do we know? And do we even need to know? Like, your mind is just confirming its own theory here, or trying to anyway. But the bigger picture, even bigger than that, is I'm not just arguing for an inside-out experience for no good reason. I mean, the bigger picture to see, bigger thing to see in this is that our mind just has that one foot in still, trying to figure it all out. Why? So if let's just say I said, absolutely, I just read 25 studies this weekend. They all said, with absolutely not even question, exercise, working out, it influences your thinking and feeling. It's not even debatable. Now what? Now what? Now what? You're going to exercise all the time, right? You're going to start thinking, oh, okay, I need this in order to feel better, or this is what does it. Our mind, you're not even doing that, Phil. Our mind does that. It wants to control everything because it really cares how we feel. It really is all about our experience and trying to get us to have a certain experience, because our mind cannot see beyond our experience. It doesn't want to, or it doesn't know there's a bigger us. There's a wisdom, there's us, who we really are, the part that doesn't change. Little mind isn't onto that. It doesn't care about that. It thinks it's the boss. So it's always looking for like, ooh, where can I pull a string here? Ooh, let's exercise more. We'll make it feel this way. We'll make them feel that way. You know, we'll avoid that feeling. Maybe we can avoid this feeling by doing this thing over there. So it's so innocent. It's not like we're even consciously aware of it. But when we get into these like, ooh, what influences it? Does it or not? A big part of that is just our mind still wanting to control things. You know, it's our mind saying, if I can crack this code, we can never suffer again. And life is so much bigger and better than that. Guess what? You're never going to stop suffering. You're never going to control your thoughts or feelings. Ever, ever, ever. We're not even going to influence them to a degree that's actually helpful. As soon as you are, then you're worried about, oh, what happens if I stop doing all this action to control or influence how I feel? Like, it's a trap. It's a huge, huge, huge trap. And I want you to see, and for everybody, because again, everybody has this question, me too, for a very long time. When we start kind of coming in the back door and saying, yeah, but this influenced it, didn't it? It's a trap. It doesn't buy us anything. It doesn't buy us a darn thing. The best it could do is say, yes, now go exercise 3 times a day so you can feel better. That's a trap. That doesn't buy you anything at the end of the week either. You're exhausted and no one has time to do that. And it reinforces this whole complete lie that we're not okay if we don't feel good. We are okay no matter how we feel, because feelings come and go. Who cares? Like, they come and go. So yes, your thinking shifted, your mood shifted, your thoughts shifted. Did the workout do it? I have absolutely no clue, but I wouldn't even go there. The door might have done it. The water might have done it. Who knows? But let's just leave that alone, because getting caught up in that costs us way more than it ever is going to buy us. The bigger picture is we're okay either way. No matter what we're feeling is coming and going experience, and we never have to figure it out or solve for it or stop it or change it. We just don't. Life is way easier than that. We are not it. It can do whatever it needs to do. So I hope that's helpful, Phil. I know this is an old question. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to it. I hope it's helpful for others, and I'll talk with you guys next week.